Okay, yesterday we were learning that if you have a fly in your soup or in your drink, you're not allowed to take, according to the Alter Rebbe, you're not allowed to take even with a spoon and take away some of the liquid, because that's, according to the Alter Rebbe, it says, Chiv Chata Skila, it might be even biblically forbidden. So he says you can't even blow the fly out of the glass. You can blow the fly to the end of the cup and then pour it out. And the Alter Rebbe says the reason for that is because what you have in your hand is you're taking away from what's... So based on that, what happens if there's stuff in a container? According to Alter Rebbe, it comes out the opposite thing though. What happens if you have a glass that has junk at the bottom and you want to pour out the good and leave the bad in the container? So if you, let's say, empty out 3/4 of the liquid and you leave a little bit of liquid left with the junk, with the sediment, then there's no problem because you're just taking half a cup and that's it. You're not... But if you take it out all the way to the end and the sediment and the junk is left in the glass, according to everybody else it would be fine because you're pouring out the good and leaving the bad. But according to the Alter Rebbe, that what you take in your hand is what you're taking away. So in this case, you'd be taking away bad from the good. So the only way, according to the Alter Rebbe, you could do that is if you leave over even a little bit of liquid, that it should be considered that you're not separating good from bad, you're separating good from good. Okay, now, another interesting thing. What happens, sometimes you say, you open a can, okay? And there's liquid in the can that you want to spill out, okay? Baked beans, fruit, whatever it is. You open a can and there's liquid and you want to spill it out. So normally what you do is, after you open the can, you take the cover, the can cover, and you hold it against the food and then you pour out the liquid, right? But again, according to Alter Rebbe, that wouldn't be an issue, but you can't block it with the cover or or you want to pour something out of a pot of soup and you use the pot cover to block, you know what I mean, that going out. So then your mamish blocking this, taking the good away from the bad. Then your mamish selecting. So that wouldn't be allowed to do. So again, you can't use a can cover or a pot cover or anything like that, or a jar cover, whatever. Huh? No, because here you're using something mamish to select with, the pot cover. If you wouldn't use the pot cover, wouldn't be a problem. But here you're taking the pot cover, you're mamish using that as a tool to separate. Yeah. It did? Okay. No, you can't use a strainer. A strainer is real selection. In fact, a strainer would be biblical selection. That would be biblically forbidden. You can select good from bad. You can select good from bad, but you can't. And even good from bad is only for immediate use. Yes, sir. Yom Tov we'll get to. Yom Tov, okay, I'll just tell you in a nutshell, there's much more detail to it. Yom Tov, because for food you're allowed to cook and do things like that. So in Yom Tov, if there's good and bad mixed, in Shulchan Aruch it says, you take out what's least hassle to take out. Whatever is less of a tircha, a bother to take out, whether sometimes it'll be the good or the bad, whatever it is, whatever is easier to take out, you should take out. What?
What about if some people in your family like one part of it and other people like it?
So again, you could take out for them right away and give it to them. Okay, next we learned about peeling fruits. What?
For you it's not good.
No, but for them it's good. So you're taking it out for them, so it's not a problem. Okay, what? What's the problem?
Question.
Yeah?
The bottle of water that is closed and you want to drink the water, so you spill a little bit of the water out. Just
No.
separate the first thing.
For the shadim, yeah?
Yeah. So is it allowed?
Yeah. Because again, what you're taking is You're taking away the good. But you don't even need that. Water and water. You're pulling out water and water. It's the same water. Now, if let's say, I'll give you an example. You know, the first 3 years of a tree, the fruits are also arla, right? You're not allowed to eat the fruits of the first 3 years. Or fruits that you didn't tithe yet, if it's fruits, they're very slow. Now you have a mixture of fruits, okay? Apples and apples, but some apples are arla apples that you're not allowed to eat. And the other apples are arla that you are allowed, they're not arla that you are allowed to eat. Or some of the fruits were tithed already, and some of them weren't tithed already. Now they're all mixed up. So then you're only allowed to take out what you're allowed, even though it's the same exact apples. You can pick from apples to apples, it's not a problem. But in this case, they're not the same, because some are allowed to be eaten, some are not allowed to be eaten. So again, because you're not allowed to eat them, they're called bad. Again, bad means what you're not allowed to or you don't want. So then you have to separate good from bad, also only for immediate use. Yeah.
In a situation like that, when apples are mixed together and you cannot tell the difference between the two, are they also?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a bottle 1 in 101 or 200, depends what the things are. But practically speaking, yeah, they'd all become awesome.
So Rabbi, let's say right before a meal, you want to open up a can of garbanzo beans, right?
There's another issue that we're not learning now. Are you allowed to open cans on Shabbos?
But you said if you make a hole on the other side.
I didn't say, you never heard that from me. I haven't seen yet a person being able to make a hole on top of the bottom simultaneously. Yeah, because if you open one, you make a keli out of it. And then you open it, but meanwhile, you made a keli out of it. It's not so, there are those that are makel. There's the flip tops. There's a lot of different, we're not getting it. We're not learning opening cans now.
What do you know about the garbanzo beans? You said about the liquid. You take the top and you strain the liquid.
That you're not allowed to do.
You're not, even if you leave a little bit of liquid in the garbanzo.
Yeah, but over there you're actually separating it completely.
That's exactly what I wanted to ask you.
What?
Can you elaborate on that? How is it that you open a can of soda, you create a vessel, but when you unscrew a bottle, you're not creating a vessel?
Okay, we're learning better. When we get into,
We need this for Shabbos.
we're learning better now. We're not learning opening cans. That we'll discuss another time in Mitzvah Shem.
Try to put it in the so you don't miss it.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's fine. Now you're valid. Okay. Now, we started discussing about peeling fruits and vegetables, okay? So we differentiated between if the peels are edible or they're not edible. Okay, if they're not edible, then it's actually bad from good. If they're edible, then it's actually part of the apple, according to most opinions. Some people say not like that, but most people say it is. That if you have an apple peel, so now the question is, can I peel an apple for later use? Okay? Shabbos morning, I want to make a fruit salad for Shalosh Shudas. Or Friday night for Shabbos morning. Okay? So peels that are not edible, you can't peel Friday night for Shabbos day. You can only peel for immediate use. Or Shabbos morning, you can't do it for Shabbos afternoon. You can do it right before the meal. But if the peels are edible, like apple or pear or, all those types of fruits, so even though you want to peel, so many poskim hold, it's not a problem peeling even for later use, because again, it's part of the apple. It's part of the apple. It's edible. It's part of, one second. But according to almost all opinions, you're allowed to peel fruits and vegetables right before the meal, not for later use, but you're not allowed to use a peeler, according to most opinions. You're not allowed to use it. You can use a knife, but you can't use a peeler on Shabbos. Why? Because that is a vessel which is designated for peeling. In other words, peeling itself is really not allowed. It's separating. But because that's the way you normally eat it, you can't eat it without peeling it. So therefore it's allowed though only immediately prior to eating. but you can't do it with a vessel that's designated. Remember when we started Bais, we said one of the three conditions to be able to do Bais is, number one, you're taking good away from bad, and you're doing it for immediate use, and you cannot use a vessel which is designated for the separating. Like you can't use a strainer to separate good from bad right before eating, because a strainer is made to separate, which is not allowed. If you're not allowed to use it, it becomes, it's called keli shemalachta le'isur. A vessel's primary use is for something forbidden. You're only allowed to move it if you need the place where it's on, or you want to use it for a permissible thing. Yeah.
If you want to peel a certain fruit, you want to peel all the fruit, but it's the same day.
What? Say it louder.
Shabbat morning to Shabbat afternoon, why is that considered two different?
Because it's only allowed for immediate use. Because that's for eating, that's for separating for later. What? What?
Can it boil, kill it, and then release it later?
No, what you're not allowed to do, you can't ask a guy to do.
No, you don't ask it, because that's part of the routine.
If the guy peeled it, and then yeah, I'm going to say yes, but it's not so simple yes.
What is a tzibur?
In other words, anything that a Jew could do, it's feasible to do it in a permissible way. A guy could do it for his convenience, even in a non-permissible way, with a few exceptions. In other words, you are allowed to wash dishes Friday night for Shabbos morning, right? You can't wash Shabbos for after Shabbos, because then you're preparing from Shabbos for after Shabbos. But you're allowed to wash dishes Friday night for Shabbos morning, right? Or Shabbos morning for Shabbos day. But then, you can't use hot water. You can't use a sponge, right? Hot water with them because of bishul. Sponge you can't use because of schita. Okay. So now, if a guy is washing your dishes Friday night for Shabbos day, or Shabbos morning for Shabbos afternoon, he can wash it any way he wants. Why? Because technically, there is a permissible way of doing it, with cold water, with liquid soap, without a sponge. You could do it. This that he's doing it is his convenience. So he's not doing anything halachically incorrect. Washing dishes is allowed for Shabbos. He can't wash dishes for after Shabbos, unless if certain conditions are met, which normally are not done.
And the maid use hot water?
Yeah, again, because she's using hot water, because it's easier for her to clean the dishes.
Any sponge?
If she wants to use a sponge, she could use a sponge for the same reason. You could even tell her, wash it any way you want. You could tell her she could use a sponge.
There's certain laws that you have, is that you have a tzibur, a congregation, is different.
Now, you can't just be Machalu Shabbos for a
No, I'm
tzibur.
just saying.
There are certain halachos that you're allowed to do for a
What's
tzibur.
considered a tzibur? How many people?
A minion.
5?
10.
10? That's considered a tzibur?
Yeah. What? What did you want?
Oh, so here's my question. Can you rinse just so the thing doesn't, so like a sauce or whatever doesn't get stuck to your plate, but if you don't wash it?
You can't soak it if the purpose is to make it easier to wash Saturday night. If you want to soak it, that you shouldn't have bugs all over the place, then you could, because then you're doing it for now. But if you're doing it to make it easier to wash for Saturday night, then you can't. I'll give you another example of that. What happens, you finish using your dishes Shabbos day, okay? Or I'm not eating on Shabbos day, Friday night. Can I put them into my dishwasher? I can't turn on a dishwasher. So let's say you open the dishwasher, there's no light going on, and none of that problems. So now the question is, can I open my dishwasher and stack the dishes? So the halacha is as follows. To stack the dishes that, in a way that as soon as Saturday night comes, you press a button, that you're not allowed to do. If you want to get the mess and the stink out of the kitchen, and you want to just get them out of sight and put them in the dishwasher, laying, but not organizing them, because organizing them, again, you're doing that for Saturday night. If I'm just putting them in the dishwasher to get them off the stink and then the mess in the kitchen, so then I'm doing it for now, I'm not doing it for later. Yes, sir?
About the peeler, are you allowed to designate a peeler for Shabbat?
No. No, because you can't designate a strainer for Shabbos either. But designating something only helps for muktzah. If you designated a rock to keep a door open, then it takes away muktzah. Yeah.
You have to throw trash away in a trash compactor, don't run with a compactor.
We get way up. Yes, you could, as long as you don't turn on the trash bag. Anyway, so bottom line is, you can't use a peeler. You have to do it right before eating. And you have to be careful, again, like we said yesterday, Al Rebbe holds that if you're going to eat a nut, that the shell, the peel is muktzah, like a walnut or, things like that, because they're not edible. So you have to be careful not to eat them on Shabbos, or do it directly over the garbage. Like it said, the old Yiddish custom is that when you peel eggs on Shabbos, for you to make an egg salad, you do it straight over the garbage can, that you don't have to play with the eggshells because they become muktzah, that you're not allowed to play with.
So how do you eat pistachio nuts and shells?
That are already shelled.
Yeah. No, but if you don't, if you have any...
Pistachio nuts, according to the Alter Rebbe, you shouldn't eat on Shabbos because people have a tendency, it's not better because pistachio, it's like a walnut that you have all those skin things in there. But if it's pistachio nut, but then the shaila is, so the pistachio nut, even though the shell after you take out the nut is muktzah, but while the nut's in it, it's bottled to the food, so it's not muktzah. But if you put pistachio nuts on, you're eating at the table, and you're playing with pistachio nuts, you're inevitably you're going to be playing with the shells, which are muktzah. So if you stand over the garbage, and you eat pistachio, you open it up and dump it in the garbage, then you can do it.